Hello everyone again. We are going to be working on a program here where we can get essentially a random number 1 through 6, kind of like a die. If you were to throw a die and be able to get a number, you can run this script to get a random number through 1 through 6, and then we'll put it on a shelf and have it run with a button so that way we can get it to work multiple times and give us a different result each time we run it. Okay, so let's do this AP 6-sided die and save the file. And make sure we select Python. There we go. Save. And we are going to start off by defining. Actually, before we do that, let's import a couple of things that we're going to need, or libraries. The first one we've used before. It's just going to be so that we can output the text. So I'm going to say import sys. So that's going to allow us to output the text on the bottom of the output window. And then we're also going to do import random. So within random, they have a whole bunch of pre-built functions that we can use and put in our own values to be able to get a random number in a whole bunch of different ways. And I'll show you some of the functions that we will use today. Okay, so next what we want to do is to define our variables. And I like doing this at the top of my script because that way we can easily access them later in the future if we needed to. Anytime we're going to read throughout the whole program and we haven't looked at it in a while, or somebody else is going to look at it, they can look in this section and see what is being used. So first, it's going to set up die. So this is going to be what our actual die is going to roll onto. And right now, we haven't rolled it yet, so I'm not going to assign a variable to it, but we need to assign it something or else it's going to spit out an error at us. So what we can do is define it to none. So it's just kind of a placeholder of a variable right now at this point. Num sides. So in this case, the die is going to be a 6-sided die. And I'm going to do a variable for phrase. And with this phrase, it's not going to be set yet because we want to be able to get the die number. So I'm going to say is equal to none for now as well. And seed a random value. So with the seeding, what we're going to do is make sure that it's a little bit more random, because sometimes with running the random functions, you can see a pattern when it happens because it starts off the algorithm at the same point. So by seeding the value, it's going to set a random point within that within the numbers. So what we're going to say is random dot seed, and that will do that for us. Now we want to be able to calculate the roll. And basically, here's where we're going to get the die value. So die is going to be equal to a, oops, that's a minus. Let's fix that. Equal to random dot rand range, and what I'm going to put here is basically the maximum number that I want to do. And in this case, because we are using num sides of 6, it's going to be the number of sides. I'm going to do that. It'll make it more flexible for us in the future. Num sides. And then what this actually does, it gives us a value from 0 to right before this number. So it gives us 6 spots, but the 6 spots start off at 0, so it's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So if we want to get 1 through 6, all we have to do is tell it to add 1 to it. So it's going to be a random range now 1 through 6 rather than 0 through 5. Okay, so now we want to create the output phrase. So phrase is going to be equal to you rolled a, then I'm going to add a space here rather than adding another section that has a space because I know it's going to be a number. And then we want it to be equal to the die number, which is calculated here. The only problem is that when you're adding things together, you can't add strings and other types of data types together. But there's a way around this, and that's through the str function. So if we do str and then we put the die that we want here, it's going to, and it gives us a little tip here. So it's going to give us a string representation of that numeric value. So then I'm going to add on a, actually I want to add a space at the beginning so that way there's a space on each side of this number on a, and then I'm going to say num sides, so str num side. So that's going to give us the number of sides. So we're going to know that we rolled a certain number on the specific die that we actually rolled. And then we can just finish that off by saying that. And that looks good now. And now we want to print the result. So what we're going to do is sys.stdout.write. And we are going to write phrase. So it's just going to print out this whole section here. So I am going to save this really quick and then copy all this, bring it back into Maya. I got all the old stuff. Let's clear this out and paste it in here and run it to see if it's working. Cool, it runs. And I can run it over and over again. And you can see each time it runs, it gives me a different value. So that works. Let's go ahead and create a new shelf. So this is going to give us access to the script in an easy way that we can run it over and over rather than somebody having to copy and paste the code over here all the time. So I'm going to call this a D6. Or actually, this is the shelf. So let's call this dice shelf. Dice shelf. Okay, so we can see that we have the shelf named dice shelf now. And right now there's only going to be one, but really you can create a whole bunch of buttons that have this number change. So you can create a D6, a D4, a D20, whatever you want, and you can create a whole bunch of buttons for it here. So I'm going to just do Control A to select everything, and I'm going to middle mouse button drag it onto the shelf. When I middle mouse button to the shelf, I have that there, and I can go to the shelf editor. There we go, and this one is the one that I want to call D6. So that's going to be the name of the button now. And then tooltip, let's say we roll a 6-sided die. And then we can change the label icon and a whole bunch of other things. But I think this is going to be... Oh, actually, I do want this one right here. So that's going to be D6. So that's going to give us the actual label down here. But we can change an image if we wanted to. We can actually browse and find a D6 image and put it in replace of the Python image here. But that's fine for now. This is going to work. I'm going to click close, and you can see that I have the D6 button here, and now can't assign to a function call. What's going on? Let's delete this. I just right-clicked and deleted. But if we run it from here, it works fine. No, did I accidentally change something? Let's troubleshoot this really quick. Yeah, something happened here where I have pasted. It looks like I pasted it twice on top of each other. So let's delete that and bring the code back up here. And let's run it from here. Yeah, it works fine. So let's look at the shelf editor one more time and just change all of this. So this is going to be the D6 roll a 6-sided die, and it's going to be a label of D6, and save all shelves. So I can click on this button, and it will give us a different result each time. Cool. So that's how you create a simple tool that we can use over and over with a single button mouse click. Cool. We'll see you in the next lesson.